I'm sure you've heard about this recent stuff coming out about former Area 51 military employees having weird growths and so forth, which could be related to actual military work on conventional things. But what are your thoughts on all of that's been coming out in the past couple weeks?
Well, I mean, the roots of this go back some way, and of course, there was a lawsuit years ago from workers at Area 51 who claimed that they had health issues associated with that. And for years, the military and the intelligence community blocked this case when people were seriously ill, and that was an absolute scandal. Now, of course, there's the more recent debate that we've been having over things like directed energy weapons, Havana syndrome, things like that. It's very sensitive. Obviously, there are privacy concerns with the legislation, with HIPAA and things like that. But yeah, there does seem to be some evidence. And again, it's probably going to take Congress and or some crusading journalists to try and bring this out of the shadows and put it under the spotlight, because it doesn't matter in one sense whether people have been hurt by working on trying to reverse engineer alien spacecraft or whether they've just been exposed to asbestos. If people have health problems because they were exposed to something as part of their government or military service, then we need answers to that, and those people need to be properly treated, and we need compensation if they've been harmed.
I've heard Elon Musk saying, I don't know if he was joking, that he is renting Area 59 and that there's many areas. And I think he claimed he'd been to Area 51, but there wasn't much going on there anymore compared to previous years. Do you think now that everyone knows about Area 51, of course, it's still impenetrable for like your average person to actually get close. But do you think that they've moved some of the more secretive things to other areas around the U.S. for testing?
I'm sure they have. The moment something becomes so embedded in the pop culture as Area 51 has, even if, as you say correctly, it's still off limits to the public, Congress are probably poking around trying to find out what's going on. So yeah, the smart money is on the fact that anything there has been moved somewhere else, or certainly if there's anything extraterrestrial, maybe move it even offshore somewhere. I mean, people talk about Diego Garcia in the Pacific as being a remote area where there's a US base, or actually it's quite complicated in terms of the ownership. But yeah, it's probably maybe somewhere like that, or somewhere that folks just haven't heard of.
Yeah, and there's a base in Guam as well that you hear that there's a lot of UAP activity over that could be testing, I guess.
Yeah, and you hear a lot about Catalina Island. I know that's closer
Yeah.
to home, but again, gives you the opportunity of doing something off the west coast of the US. And if you do anything overseas, it's much less likely to be seen. I mean, obviously, it's got to take off from somewhere, but if you fly at night and then test things over the sea, you can get away with an awful lot, even pretty close to the continental United States.